Welcome to Great Processes, a quick guide on how to make any workplace better with SOPs. Written and read by Tom Hughes.
What are we going to do? John's not in this week, and he's the only one who knows how to do this job.
That customer's on the phone. We forgot to do the again.
I've told them until I'm blue in the face, and they still can't do that. Right.
Sound familiar? For most of us, this is normal within the workplace. These are the typical problems that mean we are firefighting on a daily basis, and these are the things that drain everyone's energy, making work hard. It does not have to be like this. There is a better way. You could decide to have great processes. When you have those, these kind of problems perhaps don't go away completely, but they can be dramatically reduced. Everyone can have an easier life with less stress, wasted effort, and better outcomes for employees, the business, and its customers. So the big question you probably have is, well, how do we make that happen? Firstly, I can tell you what the answer is not. It's not that we can wave a magic wand enabling you to find perfect people who know how to do everything and produce the perfect outcome every time. The answer really lies in developing great processes that effectively help ordinary people become more perfect, which I suppose is a kind of magic, and this book is going to explain how to do that. But hey, what would I know? And why would you want to listen to me? My name is Tom Hughes and I'm an entrepreneur and author based in Ireland. I've been working with process improvement for more than 30 years. First in automotive, the home of continuous improvement, then in senior leadership positions across a range of international businesses with experience all over the world. I've done business in more than 50 countries, working in startups, SMEs, and huge global corporations. In my latest business adventure, I'm a partner in an electronics and manufacturing business called Lumen Electronics. I wrote a book called Improvement Starts With I, which has been read by thousands and has made a real difference on how organizations approach the whole subject of continuous improvement, which has better processes as part of its key outcome. Finally, I'm a founder of a business called G.R.E.A.T, which is the best way in the world to document processes using standard operating procedures, or what we're going to call SOPs, when that is necessary so that they can become great. I don't pussyfoot around the subject of what tool should you use. That tool is G.R.E.A.T. We've thousands of customers in 25 plus countries and counting who agree. Working with G.R.E.A.T clients, who are often leaders of SMEs, that means small to medium-sized enterprises, I have always been getting asked, so the software is great, but how do we get our people to adopt it? These people aren't Toyota. They have little or no standard methods of work in place. They don't have mountains of spare resource, and they don't know how to get started. So that's the audience that this book is speaking to. And the how do we get our people to embrace SOPs is the question that we are setting out to answer. I wanted to get the message as concise as possible, and we achieved that. The audio version clocks in at just over half an hour, which means that it's not a huge ask for every single person in an organization to digest this information. This is super important because change is a lot easier when everyone is aligned. When everyone knows why and how we are doing this, it makes it a lot easier to move the entire organization in that direction. This is what this short book is designed to achieve. So let's start with the basics. Everything in life is a process or the outcome of a process. Did you get that? So if you're reading this as a physical book, the book is an outcome of a process. If you're listening to this on your phone is the outcome of a process. The company who made your phone carried out market research to understand what customers want. That's a process. Design, marketing communications, hiring, paying the staff, manufacturing, distribution, sales, accounting, and so on are all processes that contribute to an outcome. Everything in a business is a process or the outcome of a process. The final outcome being that physical phone that you chose to buy that is now in your hand. But processes are not just at work. They are everywhere. I mean it. Everywhere. From getting up in the morning, getting washed, dressed, and out the door to work, and as we've covered now, almost everything you do at work, until you come home at night and your bedtime routine to get a good night's sleep, that's an outcome, by the way. It's all about process. Can you see how being conscious about how we approach these processes, actually being able to see them in that way, as processes, clarifying them where necessary, improving them, and therefore getting more consistent and better outcomes, can really improve the quality of both our work and our home lives. This mindset shift can literally change your life for the better. So getting further into this, here is a definition of a great process. Great processes are clearly understood by the people carrying them out, who do so in a smooth and efficient way that allows value to flow to produce a consistent outcome. Wow, did I just get a bit jargony there? Sorry, it was the best I could do. We're going to use these three categories of process to illustrate the definition. The first we are going to call light bulb processes. These are simple, low-precision processes that everyone knows how to do, and the outcome doesn't have much variation, just like turning on a light bulb. I know what you're thinking. Like, is that a process? Well, it is. The switch, when pushed, a process step, will make the light bulb go on. The outcome. So yes, it's a very simple process. It doesn't matter if you use your left hand, your right hand, your forehead, for that matter, to flick the switch. How you do it doesn't really matter very much, and how to do it is understood by everyone. That's where the low precision term comes in. The outcome here isn't variable, unless the bulb's broken or there's no electricity. But you get the picture. You don't need an SOP for that. In your work or your personal life, if the process is being carried out in a smooth and efficient way by everyone that carries out that task that allows value to flow smoothly to produce a consistent outcome, then unless you're going to improve how you do that process, there isn't a huge benefit to giving that process more attention. Switching on the light doesn't add significant stress to anyone's day. Light bulb processes are great. If we lived in a perfect world, everything would be a light bulb process. It would be obvious how to accomplish and difficult, if not impossible, for even a person unfamiliar with the task to make a mistake. In fact, making the majority of our processes light bulb processes is a good objective to have on the road to great processes. Now, on to the second category of process, which we will term here banana processes. I hear you. The Irish guy has finally lost it. Stay with me. Hear me out, please. I recently discovered that I'd been peeling bananas wrong my whole life. Most people do the same. The dominant way of peeling a banana is from the stalk end, where we bend the stalk trying to create a break in the skin to open up the skin for us to peel it off. Depending on the banana, sometimes it's easy, but oftentimes, if it's too ripe or not ripe enough, we struggle to get started, either ending up with mushy banana or resorting to bite the thing to peel it. All a bit of a mess. I recently discovered that it's much, much easier to peel a banana from the other end. Just some gentle pressure under the tip and it peels away super easy every time, no matter what state the banana is in. Hopefully you're starting to get the picture. Banana processes are those that can be understood and accomplished with effort by most people. But there is an optimum way of doing it, and if we all knew about it, we would save a lot of time and effort in the process, leading to better and more consistent outcomes. These are the processes where an SOP can be very useful. A simple banana process at Lumen Electronics would be changing the cartridge in our printer. It's something that doesn't need to be done very often, so it's easy to forget how it was done last time. Pre-SOP, it would have started with a good round of swearing by me, followed by YouTubing a video with the printer model number trying to work it out, looking for where the spare cartridges are kept, etc. Now we just have a QR code from Gembadocs on the printer, how to change the printer cartridge. And it's easy. So this is a very simple banana process, but any process that has a potential knowledge gap, which could disrupt flow in how to execute a process, or where the outcome could vary due to poor execution, will benefit from a well-documented SOP. Variation in the outcome of a banana process, by definition, isn't business or life-threatening, and for that reason, they are medium precision. They aren't mandatory to be followed to the letter, they are there for guidance. This brings us on to the third and final category of traffic light processes. For these types of process, they are high precision and need to be followed exactly, or else there is a serious risk to the outcome in terms of safety, quality, cost, or customer experience. They are mandatory, and like at the traffic lights, you don't run a red or the outcome is highly likely to be bad. It's easy to think of these as dangerous things, like wearing the right personal protective equipment necessary to carry out a task, or the process of making a risk assessment before preparing a construction job site. But it's not just life or death things. Many processes in life or business fall into this category. We are just introducing a feature in Gembadocs that allows users to label an SOP or a process step critical. We advise caution though. If you try to make everything critical, you'll end up making nothing critical. So again, in our business, Lumen Electronics, we have to ship packages to customers all over the world. John, in our office, normally does that. He books the shipper, packs and labels the box, all simple and easy enough. It flows without struggle or interruption. John understands the process, and when he does it, it's a smooth and efficient process with a consistent outcome. However, what happens if John's not in and we need to ship a parcel? God forbid I had to do it? Before we documented the process with an SOP, it was chaos. It used to look like this. What shipping company do we use for that type of parcel? Going where? How do we book them to pick up? How do we pack and print out the label for the box? Phone calls, Google searches, searching for the labels and wrapping tape. A nightmare. And as for the outcome, not consistent, not optimal. We'd often ship it with the wrong carrier, costing a lot more than the shipment should have. We'd pack the goods incorrectly, either wasting packaging material or not protecting the product properly, leading to transport damage and customer complaints. More poor outcomes. Waste, waste, waste. Everywhere. So whilst perhaps not evident at first glance, our shipping process is a traffic light process because it can affect cost and, more importantly, customer experience. When we have a clearly documented SOP that we all can follow to get that task done with minimal fuss, delivering a consistent outcome, it's such a difference for everyone and we all win. That's a big part of the reason that I'm personally so passionate about spreading the word about the difference that great processes can make. Without them, the organization engine runs on the fuel of tribal knowledge that has been picked up over years of experience, normally residing in just a few people's heads who are the bottlenecks for heaps of tasks. It's very tough for new starts in this kind of environment. Critical processes are undocumented, and after being shown a job for just a few minutes, they are left to fight the battle of survival of the fittest, those not making it being the problem, not the organizational environment that they were subjected to. This leads to stress and high turnover of staff, which increases the burden even more on the tribal knowledge people, who instead of being productive just spend their time babysitting mundane tasks to those coming in and out of the forever revolving door of new people. Nobody wins. When there is an absence of great processes, leaders spend their time in the operational weeds of the business, firefighting throughout the day, intervening at the knowledge gaps, and where the outcomes of the process didn't end up according to expectations, like the customer who also isn't winning. That package you shipped us was damaged, and we need a credit for the damaged goods. The customer loses, the business loses, and now everyone is even more stressed because we're actually doing work that should never even have existed. All because the person that packed that box should, and I say that the word should is a word often loaded with disappointment, have known how to pack that product. If mistakes happen in a great environment, our first assumption is not that someone did not care or was incompetent. It's that there was something wrong in our processes that allowed the mistake to occur, either directly in the process or our training processes that support our operational process. What do we need to change within the processes to improve? Process, process, process. Do you get the picture? With great processes, life can be different. I developed the acronym G.R.E.A.T, G-R-E-A-T, to be the how of getting great processes. It's actually a step-by-step process, a checklist for you and everyone in your organization to follow in order to help you make any process great. Remember, great processes are clearly understood by the people carrying them out, who do so in a smooth and efficient way that allows value to flow to produce a consistent outcome. So here's what the letters stand for at a top level. G is for Gemba. R is for recognized. E is for easy. A is for available at point of use. T is for tested and trained. So let's get into this in more detail. G stands for Gemba. It's the second and last jargon word that you're going to hear in this book. Gemba means workplace in Japanese, or also scene of the crime. For us, it's the physical place where value is added, the product assembled, the customer served, or the mouse clicked. Great processes are developed on the Gemba. This is actually a lot more important than it might seem at first inspection. The traditional way of documenting a process would be like this. The manager would be the one with the clipboard and pen, taking pictures with a phone and then bringing the printed piece of paper back to the guys asking for feedback. In this situation, guess who owns this SOP? Who owns this process? Well, I can tell you one thing. It's not the people actually adding the value, and that's super important. This is where Gembadocs really comes into its own. It's actually why we gave it that name. Everything can happen on the Gemba. Using the mobile app or desktop PC version, it's so simple, quick and easy to take a photo, video of each step, add some text, and repeat until you're done. It doesn't matter if it's a physical or virtual process. There is no detachment from the Gemba, and that is where the ownership stays. This takes me neatly onto the second letter, which is R, for recognized. So we've ticked the first box. The SOP has been 100% developed on the Gemba. However, in order for it to be useful, it needs to be recognized by the people and actually used. In my experience, this has a much greater chance of happening when those people actually doing the work document the process, when the process method is developed by, or at the very least with, the people who are doing the work, working collaboratively as a team. Depending on how technical or critical the task is, notably for traffic light processes, managers, engineers, or process experts can facilitate the process, but the closer the ownership for the SOP is with the people actually doing the work, the better. The more ownership we have from the Gemba people, the less non-value added work needs to be done around checking and auditing that the standard is being complied with. When those on the Gemba see the SOP as a useful tool to make life easier, rather than some kind of handcuffs applied by coercive management, they will follow it, improve it, and make sure that it's kept up to date. especially when they have an appropriate tool like Gemba to do that. Next, it's E for easy. The documented process must be logical, easy to use, and easy to understand. Prior to Gemba at Lumen, if we had actually spent the time to develop any kind of SOP, it would typically have been a wall of text that nobody but the technical person who wrote it would have had a hope of understanding. It doesn't help us to stop relying on the tribal knowledge. So again, one of the reasons why Gemba is so powerful is that with the simple step-by-step approach, with pictures, videos, and text, it forces the user to document the process in a simple way that is easy to understand and therefore be a useful tool to support someone during the period they are learning how to do a process. It's easy to skip through the steps in a logical sequence simultaneously as one is carrying out the task. The fourth letter is A, which stands for Available at Point of Use, which means what it says. For pretty much my whole career, even when SOPs have been written, they have often been nowhere near the Gemba, often stored in an Arch file in a cupboard somewhere or on some directory that everyone has forgotten about. So when the SOP isn't physically where it's needed, it shouldn't be a major shock that it isn't being used. Again, we firmly addressed this issue of available at point of use in Gemba. SOPs can be viewed anywhere, step by step in the app, printed out and placed at the Gemba, scanned via QR code on the Gemba, or simply stored as a URL link on your PC. They can be made easily available no matter where your Gemba might be, even on a truck out on the road. The final letter is T, which stands for tested, and also for trained. See what I did there? I double T'd the T. It's important that SOPs are tested before being deployed out to the Gemba people to make sure that they pass the E criteria. This is nice to do for bananas, but absolutely essential for traffic lights. It can also be a good practice to have formal approvers who check things over before the SOP gets released. Again, we built an approval process into Gemba that facilitates this. Our second T is for trained, and this is critical because often just reading an SOP is not enough to truly understand the nuances of a complex task and transfer all the knowledge necessary to support someone unfamiliar with a task to complete it successfully. So whilst the SOP is an essential guide, people conducting traffic light tasks need to be trained and supported appropriately. You wouldn't want to fly with a pilot who just read the manual for the Boeing 747, would you? To ensure that the rope is kept tight in this regard, many organizations in the continuous improvement world have training matrices, showing all the team members' training level against all the critical tasks in the business. The matrix indicates their level of competence from knowing nothing about a task to indicating that they'd like to learn, to under-training, to operate without supervision, right up to being capable to train. It helps provide an overview of where opportunities exist to get greater cover for critical tasks and for the team members to become multi-skilled. So that's GREAT, G.R.E.A.T. Now you know what it stands for, and for most organizations, implementing this methodology represents a massive improvement. You're going to find that when you collaborate as a team to identify the best way to accomplish your tasks, that you'll come up with the best selection of everyone's ideas. That initial exercise of developing the process will already be a step up for many of the people accomplishing that task, delivering a faster, better, easier process than what everyone's individual portion of tribal knowledge was permitting them to achieve. Great processes also become a baseline. As Japanese continuous improvement guru Taiichi Ohno said, "Without standards there can be no improvement." What this means is that without a baseline, any improvement becomes just another source of variation in terms of how the process flows and the outcome. So when we get great processes, we will always be improving from a consistent base. So the G.R.E.A.T way of establishing SOPs provides a guide to help you understand how to go about getting your organization to work like this, but it still doesn't fully answer the question of how and where do I start? Let's do that now. First of all, I'm going to echo what I wrote in my last book around building a continuous improvement culture, and its title is Improvement Starts with I. So during week 1 and 2 of this process, start with yourself. Nobody likes being told what to do, to have new tasks, or even tools pushed onto them. It rarely ends well. So I'm telling you that no matter where you are in the organization, at the top of the organization chart or anywhere else, start applying G.R.E.A.T, G.R.E.A.T, to the processes directly within your span of control. Yourself. Make this a pull process, not push. Sign up for a Gembadocs free trial at gembadocs.com or simply download the app to get started. It's 7 potential areas where documenting an SOP can get you off to a great start. Number 1, simple how-tos, like working the coffee machine, changing the printer cartridge, mixing the paint. Number 2, cleaning standards, like how you clean the bathrooms, production areas, or a specific piece of equipment. Number 3, opening up or closing up the facility. Number 4, core production processes if you have a physical process. Assembly, machine operations, starting up, shutting down, maintenance processes. Number 5, core back office processes like invoicing, purchase orders, daily, weekly, monthly accounting tasks. Number 6, infrequently carried out complex tasks, that once a year setup process that you forget how to do. Number 7, field work, job site preparation, installation and maintenance processes, updating other software tools. Simple how-tos don't need the full G.R.E.A.T treatment, but can be great ways to demonstrate how SOPs can help flow and be useful tools to yourself and others. It's so good to put the answer where the question is and get a buzz in the organization about the new thing. Weeks 3 and 4 are about starting to get your team aligned. After you've been doing that for a week or 2, start asking your team to digest this book. It's not too much to ask of anyone, as it's only half an hour of their life in audio or a short read. This is because, as I said in the introduction, it serves to get everyone on the same page. Then invite them to your account in Gembadocs so they can download the app and everyone's SOPs are linked. Ask them to start playing with the app within their own span of control and just have fun with it. Start pulling meetings together about how the team are benefiting, what challenges they have, and how they can overcome them. One major objective right here is to build curiosity so that the people want to create SOPs, that they see how this is going to benefit them as a useful tool in their day-to-day work. When that happens, you create pull. And that is when things start to get really interesting. As we've got the team motivated now, from week 4 and onwards, we can start providing structure around where we really need SOPs and start to plan and assign responsibilities along with priorities and timescales. If you're looking for what to focus on at this stage, look for where we don't have flow in the process or where we have excessive variation in the outcome, whether they are bananas or traffic lights. Light bulbs aren't our focus. Depending on what's appropriate for your business, the list outlined in the Start With Yourself section can be used as a planning and prioritization tool for what you want to get documented and when. If your organization already has some SOPs, data sheets or equipment manuals in existence, it's a good idea to start uploading them as PDFs into Gembadocs, so you can get the team used to having everything available centrally in one place. During these early times, it's advisable to work out a nomenclature system, such as including a departmental prefix, for example, PRD for production, AC for accounting, etc., to make SOPs organized and easy to access in the software. As more and more of your processes start to get great, you may want to start organizing them with tags in Gemba. This feature allows you to effectively categorize SOPs and then restrict access to only those that need to see them, so that they can use the search function in Gemba more efficiently. It also allows more confidential type processes to be centrally located, with access restricted strictly to those who need to have access. This can be helpful for processes that don't want to be out in the open for all to see, such as banking, payroll, and human resource processes, for example. A deployment strategy is essential in order to make sure that all are available at point of use. How best to do that depends on how the specific SOP will be used. If the SOP will be used frequently by many different people, for example, a cleaning process, it's best to print it out and display the entire process. If it's going to be occasionally called upon, like simple how-tos, then a QR code is great. If you need access to many different processes at a single point, like a workstation or a truck, for example, a PC with Gemba or the app on a mobile device is the way to go. The main point to consider with deployment is this, that wherever the question is asked, that's where the SOP should be. As we're drawing this short guide to a close, I'd like to share the experience of countless Gemba clients. You will find that as your people get used to standards and their usefulness, they will create them as they see the need. You won't have to push this. I can't remember the last time I asked one of our guys to do a Gemba because they just create them as they go, as part of our operating DNA. They understand the power of great processes and how it just makes everything easier. Follow this process and that will happen for you too. So that's it for now. This is Tom Hughes, wishing you all the best on your way to some great processes. If you liked this short book, please do this author and entrepreneur a favour and spread the word by sharing it with your friends and network now. I don't charge for any of my books, and the world could do with more great processes and better workplaces. If the approach here has resonated with you, you may wish to check out my first book, Improvement Starts With I, a practical guide to building an extraordinary lean culture. It's available on the Lean Play app for free and in other formats at improvementstartswithI.com. My contact details are available on the website too, so feel free to reach out. So just before I go, a huge thanks as always to my beautiful wife Fiona, my family, God and Guru, Paul Akers, and all my lean friends, especially the Improvement Starts With I Signal Group, and specifically Phil Ruby, Adam Spivey, and Bill Utter for their great intros. And finally, to my buddy Adrian Curran, who's helping me record this audiobook. Thanks, Adrian. I appreciate the mate's rate.